So we will start with the topic epidemiological survey and surveillance, because we all know that this survey and surveillance, they are the two most important study, or you can say two most important um, you can say uh, part of epidemiological study that is required to have an idea about the disease status. And as we know that in epidemiology, we have to know the status of a disease in a population. So these two part, that is survey and surveillance, they has a very important role in quantitative epidemiology of a disease. As we are dealing with the quantitative epidemiology, it means we, we need to know about the status of disease in a population. So what does it mean? What is survey? So survey, you can say this is simply if you go to a population and collect the related information or data. If you are collecting the data about the disease, you have to collect the relevant data of disease, where the animal is diseased or not. If you are doing survey of particular disease, you have to know about the presence or absence of a disease in a population. So this is simply the collection of data or information of a disease in a population. This is just a survey. It is used to know the number of individuals, or so there is different types of survey you can do. One type of survey is disease related surveys. You want to know whether a particular disease is present in a population, and if it is present, then what is the quantitative or estimated projection of a disease, so that we can collect the information from the population. Apart from that, you can also go for collection of other characteristic of animal in a population, that we can also do in a survey. If you want to know about the uh, milk yield in an animal population, then we have to go for a survey about the milk yield. Likewise, you can go for other characteristic also, like you go for estimation of weight in a population. What is the average? What is the weight of milching animal in a particular geographical area? Then you can also go for a survey. So this is you can go for collection of data related to different characteristic of animals if you want to do so. So it is used to estimate the prevalence of a disease. As I told, if you collect the information, you can know the prevalence of a disease in a population, or you can say the what is the seropositivity against a particular disease of a particular disease in a population. That also you can know with the help of survey. That all we can know with the help of survey. Survey, you can ask that what is the difference between survey and census. Census means, as we know, that census includes the collection of data from all the individuals in a population. If we collect the data from all the individuals in a population, then it is called census. So we are not doing, or we are not collecting the data from all the individuals in a population in survey, right? So in survey, we will limit the number of individuals in our study. So that is the basic difference between survey and census. Census में हम लोग we try to cover all the individuals in a population, whereas in a survey we target a limited number of individuals in a population. That limited number of individuals can be determined based on different sampling uh, methods. So that is the difference between census and survey. So in the survey, the sample plays a very important role, as we do study selected individuals of a population. So here the sample method or sampling plan, it plays a very important role in determining your result of the survey. If your sampling plan is not good, you will not get the exact estimate of a disease in a population. So sampling is very, very important in survey. If a survey is designed in a way representing the whole population, then the estimate can be made accurately. As I told, that if your sampling plan is designed in a proper way, your disease estimate can be more and more accurate. So sampling is very, very important if you do a survey in a population. So coming to the sample, what do you mean by sample? As we can say, sample is nothing but it is a small population of individuals from a defined population, which represents the whole population or not. It means a sample should be such that the small population which represent the whole population of our study. It means if you have a population of uh, 10 millions and if you are taking 10,000 sample, it means the 10,000 sample will represent the 10 million animals. So the data coming out of 10,000, it is equally applicable to all the whole population. That is, whatever data it comes from the 10,000 animal, it is expected that the data represents the whole population. That is, 10 million population is represented by 10,000 of individuals. So that is the role of sample. So sample is nothing. It can be defined as a small proportion of individuals from a population that should represent the whole population. Or if it is item, it is lot. So if you are sampling a food item or if you are sampling something which is not live, then the lot of it means the lot number of the sample item is important. So it is nothing, it is small proportion or a small amount of item from a lot that represent in true sense about the whole lot or whole population. That is the sample. Sampling can be performed by different methods. Before going to the different sampling methods, we should know few definition that is used, like target population. What do you mean by target population? So it is nothing but total population from which you want to have information. So the total population from which information is required is called target population. Then study population. It is the population from which a sample is drawn. So the target population may be the whole population, out of which we have to take sample from a limited number of individuals. That limited number of individuals is called study population. Then coming another term, sampling frame. So it is defined as the individual of a study population is the sampling frame. So many times you may see that study population and sampling frame, they are both the same thing. So if you make a frame of the study population, it is called sampling frame. Suppose we have to take sample from a study population. That study population is 5,000 animals. So we have to make the list of 5,000 animals, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and like that, 5,000. That 1 to 5,000 your list that is called the sampling frame. And out of that sampling frame, we have to select the sample. So that is called sampling frame. Then sampling unit, what is mean? Mean sampling unit is every individual from which the sample is taken. That is called the sampling unit. So this is the you can say the lowest, or you can say the exact member of a sampling frame is called sampling unit. हर एक इंडिविजुअल जिसका हम सैंपल ले रहे हैं, that is called a sampling unit. So this is the minimum unit from which a sample is taken is called sampling unit. Then coming to the different types of sampling, how can we take the samples? We can take by two ways. One is probability based and another is non-probability based. So non-probability sampling, it means the sampling will depend upon the choice of the person who is doing the study or choice of investigator. It means this is a biased type of sampling. If I am biased, I want to know a disease status in a population, and if I take the sample from hospital, then it is a biased sampling. It means in hospital or in animal dispensary, whatever animal will come, they all will be suffering from some kind of disease. So, if we want to know the status of animal out of those sampling frame, it will be a biased result. You will get more positivity in those cases. So that is a non-probability sampling. It makes it is a biased type of result. Always it will give more and more cases of a disease if we do by non-probability sampling. However, in probability sampling, every individual they get equal chance of being selected. This is the principle of probability sampling. So sampling is made by, this is an unbiased method of sampling. And in that type of sampling, each sampling unit in a group has an equal opportunity or probability of being selected. That is called probability sampling, in which every individual they have the equal probability of selection. That is the basic principle of probability sampling. Okay? This is also called random sampling. So randomly, the animals can be selected. We do not know whether the animal which I have selected is diseased or not. It may be diseased, it may be healthy. So this will give a true representation of the population. Otherwise, if we select from if the select diseased animal only, naturally that's the positivity rate will be more. So that will not be a random sampling. So random sampling it can further be divided into different types of sampling method. Like we can go for simple random sampling. This is the first and simplest way of doing random sampling. The sample is selected randomly from a list of sample unit in a study population. So if you want to make some random sampling, you make a list of individual from where you want to sample. And out of those list, we have to select the samples or individuals randomly without doing anything. Okay? That is called simple random sampling. There is another random sampling that is called systematic random sampling. So if we have a large number of individuals, the population is very large and the sample frame is also very large, then to avoid any type of biasness, we may do systematic random sampling. So what it means, it involves selection of sampling unit at equal intervals. The first animal is selected randomly. Then after that, we have to select the individual at equal intervals. Say for example, if I have selected from a list of 10,000 animals, if I have first animal selected is number 10, and after first selection, we have to select every fifth individual. So 10 ke baad 15th, 20th, 25th, 5th, 20th, 30th, 35th, 40th. So these are the animals that we have to select. This is called systematic sampling. Okay, so this will again reduce the biasness of doing sampling. So this will give a more and more accurate result in our study. Systematic sampling is very common in industrial quality control, where a large number of products are manufactured. So in those type of industry, this is the sampling method we perform. After every 1,000 pack, we have to collect one sample. So हर 1,000 यूनिट कोई अगर आइटम बन रहा है तो हर 1,000 के बाद हम एक उसका आइटम ले लेंगे, इट विल एक्ट एज ए सैंपल, और हर 10,000 के बाद एक सैंपल ले लेंगे, दैट विल एक्ट एज ए सैंपल. सो दिस इज द मेथड ऑफ डूइंग सैम्पलिंग in industry or in any population which is very large. Then there is another way of doing sampling, random sampling, that is called stratified sampling. Say for example, in a population there may be uh, animals of different characteristics, different age, different weight, and if you are doing random sampling, then we may be selecting animal with 5-year age. Sometimes you will select animal with 2-year age, 1-year age, 3-year age, 4-year age. So it will be very randomized. You will not get exact data of a population. So in that case, what we do, we make different strata as per our desired study. If you want to study a particular disease in a particular age group, then we have to make different strata of different age group, or based on other characteristic as you desire. So first you make different strata, and from those strata you select the individual or take the sample randomly, either by doing simple random sampling or by doing systematic random sampling. So that is the meaning of stratified random sampling. Stratified random sampling is nothing. A stratification is made, and out of those stratified population, you have to take random samples. That is called stratified random sampling. Okay? So by definition, you can say a stratified random sampling is obtained by dividing the study population into different exclusive groups or strata, and then random sampling is made from all those strata. That is called stratified random sampling. Because if you want to know the disease status in old age group and young age group, the status will be different. So you cannot mix the result of those young age group and old age group population. So we stratify the population in old age group, and another group is having young age group, and collect the sample randomly from both the strata. Then you can have an idea about the status of disease in both types of population. That is the objective of doing stratified sampling. So coming again to the survey, uh, survey we can have different types of survey. One type of survey is called cross-sectional survey. So what does it mean, cross-sectional survey? It means if you are doing a survey at a particular point of time, this is called cross-sectional survey. And opposite to that, longitudinal survey. So longitudinal survey is nothing. If you do survey over a period of time, say for example, you are studying or you are doing survey for 2 years or 3 years, that means it is a long period of time during which you are collecting the information from the population. This is called longitudinal survey. So this will give information in long term, and it may be a prospective, or it may be a retrospective study also, because it will include record of past events, and the future events can also be recorded in such type of survey. So longitudinal survey is survey that is done over a period of time. Then there is a term called screening, as you have heard about the screening of population or screening for a disease. So screening is nothing but with the help of certain diagnostic tests, if you are making survey about the occurrence of disease, this is called screening. So for doing screening, we must have uh, uh, certain diagnostic test available with us. So with the help of particular type of diagnostic test, if we do the survey, it is called screening. So the aim of screening is to separate apparently healthy individual from those that probably do not. It means that the tool which is designed for screening cannot be used for diagnosis, because screening, whatever diagnostic test used for screening, it is not exactly giving the true positive or true negative cases. So it is just giving an estimate of a healthy population and an unhealthy population. That you might have heard in COVID cases also, that by doing uh, zero zero survey, we can have an idea about the disease status of COVID-19 in the population. But those tests cannot be used for diagnosing the case, because the positive means you may be diseased, or that disease may have happened earlier also, because we are doing zero surveillance, zero survey. So serum, it means um, you are doing test for based on antibody antigen reaction. So that is made for a screening one, to know the population is diseased or not. That is the aim of doing screening. It is not intended to be a diagnostic test. So keep in mind that screening test cannot be used for diagnosis. There is another term called monitoring. So you may call monitoring, and what is the difference between monitoring and survey? So monitoring is a continuous process of collection of data, or you can say it is a routine or continuous collection of information or observation on a particular disease or productivity and other characteristic related to the individual in a population is called monitoring. It means if we, like in longitudinal survey, we can say if we do longitudinal, if we do a survey for a very long period of time, it is called monitoring. Means you are collecting the data continuously in a population. That is called monitoring. We monitor the population for the presence of particular type of disease. It means we are looking continuously of the occurrence of a particular disease in a population. Then this is called monitoring. Okay? So definition wise, it is very simple. There is continuous collection of information from a population is called monitoring. Whereas the surveillance is entirely different from monitoring. Surveillance is, in simple terms, you can say, is intensive form of monitoring. What does it mean? It means that we are monitoring the population in very active and intensive form. We are collecting the data, analyzing the data, applying the result of the data on the control of disease. So it involves the collection, collation, and interpretation. So in definition, you can also write that surveillance is collection, collation, and interpretation of the data collected during monitoring. That is called the surveillance. We have a large number of data. From that data, we have to collate, means we need to analyze the data. What is the relevance of the data that we have collected? And if we analyze the data by using different statistical method, different tools, then we will reach at interpretation that yes, this disease is endemic, or this disease is present for a very large population of animals. That is our interpretation. And based on those interpretation, we can go for its control strategy, designing of control strategy. That's why if we go for any policy making, you need to have a surveillance data, whether the disease is present in our population or not. And if it is present, then up to what level it is present, whether it is significantly affecting the economics or economy of farmer or not, then we will design a control strategy. We can prioritize those control strategy also with the help of the data that we get from surveillance. So what are the different elements of surveillance? What different methods we have or we get from the surveillance? That is the element of surveillance. We gather the data, record the data, and analyze the data. This is the main crux of the surveillance: gather, recording, and analysis of data. Then dissemination of information to the interested parties. So those who are beneficiary of those study, the information must be disseminated. In our case, the stakeholders are the farmers, animal rearers. So the data or the information that we gathered must be disseminated to those. Action can be taken to control the disease. Yes, if we have a data, and based on that data, we can take any action, whether the disease needs to be controlled or not. That you all have seen in case of COVID. So based on the positivity rate or based on the data available with the different policy makers, they go for control strategy, how to control the diseases in population. So that is the element of surveillance. What is the goal of surveillance? These are the different goals of surveillance. That is rapid detection of disease outbreak, identification of disease problems, what type of problem is there, whether the disease is endemic or it is non-endemic, assessment of health status of the population, definition of priority for disease control, whether it is required urgently to control the disease or not. That also you can define with the help of surveillance. Identification of new and emerging disease. Yes, if you go for surveillance of a population, then only you can have an idea about the new and emerging disease. That's why the data is very, very important to identify new diseases in a population. Then another goal is to evaluation of disease control program. And provision of information to plan and conduct research. Based on these data, we can go for plan of different research. We can decide the priority of research based on the surveillance data. Then confirmation of absence of a specific disease from the population. That is also required. So if you want to say that our animal population is free of PPR or rinderpest, then we need a surveillance data, 4-year, 5-year, 10-year data of the absence of disease that we get from surveillance only. So these are the aims that they are the aims of surveillance. These are different types of surveillance. By what mode we can do surveillance? We can do surveillance of disease. That is called disease surveillance. Whether the disease is present, if you want to do surveillance of FMD, we simply go for in the population and record the data. FMD is present or not. That is called the disease surveillance. Likewise, we can do for any other disease also. Sentinel surveillance. So based on sentinel host, we can do surveillance. Sentinel host, I told you earlier also that these are those hosts which are not exact true host, but they can harbor the pathogen and develop antibody. So if we survey those sentinel hosts, we can have an idea about the disease in natural population also. Then we can do serological surveillance with the help of different serological tests. We can have an idea of the disease. It's called serological surveillance. In passive surveillance, those passive surveillance are nothing but this is when the disease happens in a population, then we go for collecting the data. This is called passive surveillance. And reverse of this is active surveillance. That is, before occurrence of disease, if we go to the population and search for the disease, it is called active surveillance. Targeted surveillance, we have to target